Hey everybody, what's going on? Boy, do we have a treat for you because we are very excited to do some bonus coverage here today of BB24 as we welcome in one of the stars of Big Brother 23 and one of the stars of Challenge USA, currently airing on CBS. Please welcome Azah Awasum. Azah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. What's up?
Azah, we're very excited to talk with you here today. Of course, joining us is the great Taran Armstrong. Taran, look at this.
Hello. Yes, we've got Azah.
Yes. Azah, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Coming fresh off a really awesome premiere party where we celebrated both Big Brother 24 and Challenge USA in New York. The New York fans are amazing. The New York BB alumni is amazing. I almost did not want to leave the city to never sleep, but had to come back to DC.
Okay, cool. So nice to have you here. We're here live on Wednesday afternoon. So if you're listening to the podcast after the fact, we haven't seen the Wednesday night episode as of yet. We're also able to take your questions here live in the chat. So in a little bit, if you have questions that you want to ask Azah, we can go ahead and bring those up on the screen. And Azah, so nice to get to talk to a current star of the challenge. What's it like being back on TV?
It's very, very surreal. I had here in DC, I don't get recognized as often, so I've kind of just come into my, just my general everyday. And I was surprised over these past couple of days, just the recognition was very, very high. And I'm like, I'm wondering why. And I'm like, oh yeah, Azah, you're on a show right now. You're on a show, so people, can see. A lot of people tuned in for the premiere and then saw the episode afterward. And it's just been fun. It's been so fun. I think the episode was really fun to watch. Thankfully, I was able to stay in the house, but it was a very up and down comical journey the entire time, involving lashes, involving passing out.
Yes.
Involving working with the arch nemesis in my head, Kylan. It was just a beautiful disaster that somehow ended up working out.
It must be such a different experience because Big Brother, of course, we all know you go there and you film Big Brother and then it's all over, and then maybe you come home and you watch it, and maybe some people never put it on, or you see sort of like highlights. But this is like the opposite experience. This is more like the experience of going on Survivor, where you go, you film the whole thing, and then you come back, and then now you're home to like watch it with everybody else.
That's absolutely right. One of the biggest things, I think, especially for probably Kylan, myself, Big D, and X, is there's no buffer for us. So there's no jury where you can kind of have that little median. Kylan was in a hotel room alone for a whole week. Us, me, I got evicted and immediately had to vote. And then literally the next day, you just get shot out into the world and recognized, everywhere. My first Uber ride I took in LA, the guy was like, how does it feel to almost win $750,000, yeah, that's triggering, right? But it's to experience walking in the house as, Azah, who bites and, had friends, and walking out and people scrutinizing every single move you made and feeling like they are you when playing decisions, or having very strong feelings towards you, was a difficult adjustment. And I see the difference now in the challenge of, you can go home, you can decompress, you can chill, you can settle back into your life and kind of ease into what is coming, because you've experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such it's for sure it's a different experience, and like people, Big Brother players have trouble with that all the time, where it's just like, because it's also like you get out and then there's just like a whole, like there's so much episodes, feeds, discussion, podcasts, like all kinds of, like, it's way too much for any one person to consume. And so it's just like, you've just basically missed out on everything that was happening. Whereas when you're watching it live, when you're watching it, airing live, you can be a little bit more on top of like what's actually being discussed, and like, what the episodes are like how you're being portrayed and all of it.
Yeah, that's so true. I did do things a little differently. I have not met anyone else on the cast yet, at least on my cast, that did what I did. I'm kind of weird. So I went back and watched the live feeds. I went back and looked up tweets at 9:25 p.m. on September 2nd and went to those live feeds and watched. Like, I have a very, very like holistic understanding of the season, because I like, even with me kind of struggling with adjustment afterward, I'm like, no, I want to see every single thing that I did, but I want to see what other things that people did too. I want to know what I need to take accountability for. I need to know what, I might not have. I want to know, what I might have misunderstood or things like that. I'm that curious person that has to know. So
that's commitment. I love it.
Oh yeah. I was using the live feeds until last week when they switched to new season.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I feel like that I would want to be the same way in terms of like, okay, well, like I want to see how this was like perceived at this particular time and how it went. And I know there's some people that are like, okay, I never want to see it. I never want to watch the episodes or anything like that. Do you feel like does Big Brother need to like do anything different with the way they sort of just like release people back out into the world? It's sort of like, okay, it's the finale, and now here's your phones, and go off.
I think they do their best, but even production and people and things, I don't know any production person that has played Big Brother, so they don't know. I think they do their best. They told us, hey guys, don't look at your phones, okay? They said this. They were like, go home. This is what they said. Immediately go home. Don't look at your phones. Don't look at what's on social media, and just chill for 10 days. We promise you might not like what you see, And they're like, and even if you have people who are saying hatred against you, there are probably so many more people who do love you, because they're casuals who really don't know different, in-depth things that went on. And the first thing that I did that night was I went on my phone,
Yeah,
everyone did. Yeah, you just come on, like you're going to do it, So I think they try. I will say, I have to say, part of the reason, one, I don't believe I still have not done this. I've never used my platform to condemn anyone. I don't agree on that, just because I don't agree judging people on things that who knows in what particular situation I would have been in. But another reason why I felt it was very difficult for me to publicly denounce Todrick is because Todrick did not like me. Todrick was not a fan of me because he was such a fan of Hannah. But he could see, I kind of had a little bit of a breakdown when I left the house, and he literally took me in, and like, I could not speak for literally 3 days. I didn't talk to anybody because I was still adjusting to this weird, there was a lot that I had to take in. And for him to take in a complete stranger and accept me with open arms as something I have to be very, very thankful for. And I did have a little bit of a buffer period to just kind of recover, before going home. And I was still kind of weird when I came home. My parents could notice and see things, but I think having some type of halfway house maybe for, Big Brother. Okay,
is that what Todrick was trying to build? Yeah.
I think he low-key accidentally built it. A mansion where you can relax and be in a pool. It was literally a halfway house adjustment period for us. Something that the jury kind of gets by that, but a lot of the finalists, don't get. And having that little period of a buffer and that kind of just that safe space for a while before kind of going out into this world that your life has really changed forever as a result, I think would help.
Do you think if you went back and played Big Brother again, would it be easier to make that transition? Do you think you'd be more prepared?
I don't know how to answer that question because I literally promise you I will never play that game again.
Yeah.
For me, the mental health is not worth it. Like, the challenge was summer camp compared to Big Brother for me. I don't know what was the combination of variables and things, and being a crazy big fan I was in that game. I'm like, I don't know. The people who sign up for this again and again might be some masochists. And guess what? I don't mind that stuff. I'm kind of into that stuff too, but not like that. Okay.
Oh wow, Azah. Okay.
Oh boy.
It's a headline.
I didn't say that. My father's a pastor. I never said those words. I'm joking.
Yeah, very. We got it. Yeah. Azah, we'd love to talk to you about Big Brother 24, and of course, like we hope that it would be like we'd be having as much fun here in the first week as we were in Big Brother 23. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. Just going back to Big Brother 23 for a moment. Was that fun to live through the hurricane, Frenchie?
Oh.
Because it's come up a lot this week.
Man, okay. I'm not exactly certain if editing was able to capture, I don't know what to call the spirit of that house, but the heightened sensation, that was in that house. I think watching it was probably amazing and great television. But living that experience, and now that I can describe those feelings a little bit better than what I did in my first week, very quickly, because we remove everything else from you, Big Brother's very, when people get evicted, it's very close to death. I know it sounds very dark, and I have dark humor, so it makes me laugh. But, eviction is death. And when you make these alliances or things with people, you're trying not to die, and like you find yourself, so in that house, I just know day one was so fun, but day two, very quickly, you kind of had this survivalist mentality in a way of, trying to literally survive and trying to figure that out. And that's something that usually kind of, for many seasons, has been a little bit of a chill week for people. But very quickly, we had to start playing this game that everyone soon became adjusted to. But yeah, I mean, for some reason, I don't know, being put on the block is kind of like being put on trial for your death. And then when you get evicted, you do die. Like, it just feels like the person died. They go out, they meet Julie. It's very Hunger Games, and it's very surreal. And yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
we talked a lot about how, in particular, the episodes did not capture Frenchie at all. And we actually just on the roundtable this week, we're looking back at the sort of like the way that we were viewing the first week of Big Brother 23, and it was like, well, the feeds were great. The episodes were like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so chaotic, and to just be like thrust into that world as you're trying to adjust to like living in the house, and also you've got this guy running around making like 15 different alliances, and like it must have been interesting.
It was interesting, and for me, as a joker, I was safe for the week,
Right.
but
Yes.
and it was a bit for me, it was a bit too much for me to kind of consume and deal with, and as a result, as you know, I created a little island in the back and just spent time reading my Bible because that's what kept me sane. But the paranoia, it was a bit of a shock for me, and it was something that I didn't know how to respond to, and the only way I felt like I could was by shutting down. And I was surprised in myself because I'm like, okay, you got to still play this game, Azah, but it was a struggle to kind of, to deal with that because it was difficult.
So this season, has not gotten off on the fun, chaotic foot this week with everything that's been going on in the house and the mistreatment of Taylor, who I guess, this just as a heads up, we will talk spoilers for this episode of the podcast if you want to wait until after the Wednesday night episode to listen to this. But I'm pretty sure every person listening to the podcast knows what's been going on, where Taylor finds herself potentially facing eviction coming up on Thursday night. Azah, would you like to see Taylor just get out of the house on Thursday night, or are you hoping that she's able to stay and potentially change things around and have her Big Brother journey play out?
I would love for Taylor to stay if she is able to have that fighting chance to continue to play this game. But I know the mental struggles I went through. I didn't go through a tenth of what Taylor is going through, but I did go through some things, and that was really difficult for me to recover from. To be quite frank, I had a very hard time, and I don't know if the sacrifice of her mental health is worth staying in that game if she is constantly going to be treated that way. If she's constantly going to be ostracized, she's constantly going to be targeted. I don't know if it's the best. And the thing is, if Taylor doesn't win this game, you can win in so many other ways. I didn't win the game, but I have this amazing platform now. I'm able to show so many people my cooking and my culture in ways I've never been able to before. And she's a very bright, confident girl. I don't want that light to be, I don't want that light to snuff out for her. And if it is best for her to lead this game where she, before the game, had incredible accomplishments, was on national television as Miss Michigan USA, then so be it.
Yeah, it's so we were talking about it this morning. It's so disheartening to see her just like getting down on herself,
Yeah.
like blaming herself for the situation that she's in, knowing what we know. And it's like you just want to be able to like reach in and be like, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Don't blame yourself. Like
Mhm.
and so like in that sense, it's like I want to be able to tell her that. But on the other hand, it's like, you know, of course it would be great for her to be able to sort of like turn it around and like succeed in the house where everyone's trying to make her fail, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a redemption arc will be awesome. Number one, it'd be great television, you know, and if she gets, if, you know, she gets Michael and Brittany and they're able to, you know, change the course, I think that'd be awesome and great. With Big Brother kind of usually pre-jury being a numbers game, I don't know if, you know, if her lasting 2 or 3 more weeks, you know, unless, you know, her and Michael switch back and forth and are able to just like do a crazy till the end, you know, kind of like what Dom and Wendell did, you know, at the end of the season, you know, and that'd be great. That'd be awesome. I would love for that to happen for her. I truly, truly would. But I don't know. I mean, if it that would be the great, like, beautiful scenario, perfect scenario in my head. But looking at the numbers and things, I don't know if that might happen. But if there's
It's a
anyone who's
tough
capable of it, it'll be her.
Yeah, it's a tough road. We talk a lot about like the person on the block in the first week that survives the vote very rarely goes on to win the game. It's a really tough position to climb back from.
Yeah.
And assuming that it's a twist that saves Taylor this week, the backdoor or a backstage situation, we, you know, being actually the first person straight up voted out of the game would be an even bigger mountain to climb. But you know, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Azah, do you feel like that are there things that Big Brother should be doing differently in terms of like what's going on, or do you feel like that in their own ways that they're handling like the situation in the house, and we're just not seeing it on the feeds because it's all behind the scenes?
Okay, in terms of handling what's on the feeds, I'll talk about it in a bit. In terms of the training, I know the training that I received. I know we had DVDs. We'd always make fun and joke in the house. People might not have known this inside joke we had, but you know, say somebody would be like, "Oh, you're looking kind of sexy today," but we don't mind those comments, right? And we're like, "Oh, thank you." You know, somebody, "Oh, DVDs," you know, like we had DVDs that we had to watch before on sexual harassment training, on racial microaggressions and racial bias. We had all those things, but there's one thing that they didn't talk about, and that was colorism. And a lot of people, when seeing what I'm seeing in my timeline and the mistreatment of Taylor, they're saying, well, it's not racial because, you know, there are other house guests that are of her same ethnicity. I'm sorry, of her same race that are treating her this way as well. And it's like, no, but there's something called colorism. So colorism is something that's very prevalent in the Black community that a lot of times is unconscious. A lot of times it's hidden behind many other things. But it does have a very sad history. There's something called the paper bag contest, which in a lot of historic Black universities, if you were lighter than a paper bag, you were allowed in certain institutions, but if you weren't allowed. You know, some HBCUs have a history of only accepting people who are of lighter skin. And all of that comes from historic connotations of things that colonialists and slave masters did to separate the Black community, letting lighter skinned people in the home, work in the house, and having the darker skinned people work in the field for field work. And in turn, that resentment built on both sides from each other. And that stuff can be internalized and subconscious, unconscious, and subconscious, and people don't see those things. But having that education is very important because there's so many people of many races, including Black people, who don't know the subconscious biases that they can inflict on people from, unfortunately, our dark history as Americans.
Yeah, we've been talking about this that because they have mentioned, you know, that they got like some training things, and I was kind of envisioning like a 30-minute VHS tape as the training. And like I think a lot of discussion has been focused around like could they be doing a better job than just like potentially handing out some videos and do some serious like work in the 2 weeks that people are, sequestered before they go into the house. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, okay, so I don't know if I should say this, but who knows if it might be a little bit different now. But we also had these similar type of training when doing the Challenge USA. But now with COVID, who knows? Maybe these things could have done a little bit better. I don't know. But with COVID, we had DVDs that were sent to us that we're told you need to watch this.
Right.
With the Challenge USA, we were all on. We couldn't say our name on the Zoom, but we all actually attended a Zoom meeting, and there was someone who was hired, like a diversity instructor who was hired, and he actually talked about. I remember him specifically talking about colorism. I remember him specifically talking about misogynoir. I remember him specifically talking about a lot of terms that the average person wouldn't know. And I personally was I remember feeling so gratified when watching that. It was so much more of a great, what's the word? Such a great educational training just by having that personal element of him being in the room. And it might have been on a Zoom screen, and he got an Uber Eats order in the middle of his presentation, but it was still awesome, and people.
Well, what was the order? What did he get?
I forgot, but it was funny because he was like, "I'll be right there. Just leave it at the door." And it was funny because he was talking about some really serious stuff, and it was like, "Doom." It was funny. But he had a whole presentation out, and we were able to ask questions during the time, and we were anonymous people. I'll give you another funny thing. Somebody, I don't know if you're familiar with GamerVev, but somebody used their username as GamerVev when they were in the room. So you couldn't use your own name, and somebody like on the chat when you're looking was like GamerVev. It was like, wait, GamerVev's playing the challenge? But yeah. We were able to ask questions. We were able to do a lot of things, and I think I personally felt I was very gratified watching that because I felt like, okay, I think they're really trying to cover the bases. But the other thing I'm going to have to say is Big Brother, we each year and most years, we get very upset by what we see on television. But I don't know, who knows if no matter what you do with the type of variables that are in that specific game, in the challenge, we're able to go out, we're able to see the producers face to face. We're able to do all sorts of things. But Big Brother is that social experiment that you don't have any of that. You are isolated, you are removed from everything, and you think you're gonna die because you literally treat eviction as death. And you get put in this survivalist mentality that shows your true nature, that whether it's carnal, whether it's the flawed nature of you comes out in ways that you won't even know or see yourself. And I don't know who knows if that training is still gonna help when you're put in this type of environment that forces you to survive in any way possible. And as a result, you act in ways that are deemed not, act in ways that negative ways, to be honest, just negative ways. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the training is amazing, and I think it's great that they do it. But I'm also wondering, like, if the issue is like, if you don't have the right ingredients, like, I feel like if they're not the right people that you're getting for the show, like, I feel like that the training is sort of like, forget about it. It's no amount of training is going to potentially work.
I agree with that. And I look and I'm just a bit surprised because I know the thorough background that was done. I got to say this too. When it comes to, okay, I don't want to say this, but should I say it? Okay, I'm going to say it. I think CBS might know what they're doing by, like, putting people that might be at their best mental state in the house because it gives good TV. So I'm going to say that. But otherwise, I know the amount of background checks we had. I know the thorough, like, we had to put 5 friends and they asked them 5 friends, things asking deeply into things about our childhood. I look at, there was a lot that was done. And it's interesting how things just seem to slip through the cracks. But people can always present a best image of themselves, and the thing is, people just, in this world where we constantly have things that are able to kind of keep us in check, it's kind of easy to be that. But when you have all that removed, all bets can kind of be off for some people, and they can easily, very, very easily forget and get lost in that world, because I know I did.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this is a complete aside, but there's a book I was reading. There's a short little story in it where there was this like person who was on like a quest of some sort, and they were not allowed to lie, or like the goddess would like punish them. And right as they were about to lie at the end of the quest, their friends like stopped them. And they passed the test, and then they were like, oh, but I didn't pass the test. I was about to lie, and then my friend stopped me. And they're like, yeah, you have your friend. You're person that had that friend that stopped you. And in Big Brother, you don't have that. Like, if anything, you're in a situation where you're surrounded by people who are all trying to kill you and and vote you out. And it definitely, I think, encourages a lot of the worst behaviors in all of us.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. You feel like you have free reign. And I think myself, I made a lot of mistakes in my gameplay and things. But I remember a lot of decision making that I made. I'm someone of faith, and how I felt playing the game was, if I don't play the game the way that he wants me to, then I'm not going to get to win. So, I mean, I had some type of, I guess, moral aptitude that helped, and even so, I still messed up and things. You know what I'm saying? But a little more than things. But that's something that I had. But for people who don't have that, I mean, all bets are off. You can. Some people view this game as, guess what? I can do whatever I want to do to get to the end, and play however I want to play, because I don't have to be policed by anything now that I'm in this house. And some people, unfortunately, take it a little bit too far.
So, in terms of the house moving forward, I mean, it's wild that this is day 7 of with 70 some odd days to go. Do you feel like that the season, like it feels like that it's just been such a weird year for Big Brother, of that, like, it's almost like I feel like that people don't really even care about too much about what else is going on in the house.
You mean in terms of the people playing?
Yeah, well, no, I think the people playing care, but I feel like that for a lot of the fans, like, I feel like that the season has, in some ways been tainted by the first week.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I think I look at modern Big Brother and things now, and unfortunately, I will say that the going of the house mentality that was started at like 16 does give room for things like this to happen. And I know that generally, even so, going with the house mentality isn't what people are interested with anyway, because they want to see two sides. They want to see the back and forth. They want to see, that type of thing. But when you add this element of what's happening to Taylor, it does make it's not fun anymore, unfortunately. You're not having fun when you're seeing someone, my apologies. You're not having fun anymore when you're seeing someone, being targeted just because of the way that they look, just because other people are intimidated by them and they're not doing anything. You're not having fun when you're watching people get gaslit. And that type of gameplay actually, that type of mean girl gameplay actually was a bit entertaining in the very early seasons of Big Brother. But in this day and age, we're different now. That's not funny. Like, that's not fun. The mean girl thing is not fun. The bullying is not fun. Intentionally making people feel uncomfortable and ostracizing them is not fun. And I think that's something that Big Brother players now need to be cognizant of when coming in. I understand that your true nature might come out, but this day and age, this world that we live in does not have the appetite for that. So, I mean, go ahead and do what you need to do to win $750,000. When you get out, you have to be prepared for how you might be received, and that there is going to cause you a lot of mental stress for years going forward.
Yeah. Is there anyone on the cast that you feel like good about, that you like, that you're enjoying at all?
So I think it's so funny because my winner's pick was Indy, and everyone was like, why is Indy your winner's pick? And I was like, you know what? She just seems so like, I just kind of like the kooky thing. And I love that she wasn't a Big Brother fan, but she was a huge Big Brother super fan in Brazil. And while those games, like, I'm someone who, a lot of people in my family watch Big Brother Nigeria. They call it BB Niger. the element from those types of gameplay is it's a bit more people tell you how they feel and it's in your face. And I like that. And I wanted to see that element. So I think it's funny. And I love that one, she's kind of been removed from a lot of this stuff. She's held herself accountable. She's talked to Taylor and told her, hey, you know what? I think I was intimidated by you and I'm sorry. But she also kind of just tells, like, she just lives her life and just tells her like it is. And I love it. And I don't know if she's going to be able to get to the end, but I would love if she got far. So I love Indy. Indy, don't disappoint me, girl, please. You were my winner chick before all this.
You know, Azah, thinking back to your season, that I'm wondering if you feel this way, that the teams of four, do you feel like that's something that is a positive for the game? Because I'm just wondering if that maybe, if in the same way that, like, where, you know, you felt like, okay, I have Brittany's back and she's my little sister, and because we're on the same team, do you feel like that, you know, had we had like teams of four in this season, that maybe there would be more people of like, hey, let me step up for this person that's on my team?
I do. I think that team's element helped a lot. I think also, though, to be honest, last season, we were coming off the brink of George Floyd. There were a lot of people who were very, very hyper aware, to be honest, and then had that knowledge of the previous seasons, and wanted to make sure that there was going to be none of that. And even though there's some things that still pervaded through the cracks, it was kind of pushed down. Coming off the season that the cookout had, I know us in the cookout felt, okay, it's probably made this game a little more difficult for other Black people moving forward. But just because of the fact we want to make sure we have one and we never had one before, let's just complete that assignment and make sure that's done. I'm noticing some people in the house kind of like, dang, I guess wanting to, I don't want to say distance their Blackness. I don't want to say that. But making an effort to, I've seen conversations where people are like, well, I'm worried that people are going to think I'm going to start a cookout again. So I'm afraid to come to this person. I'm afraid to come to this person. And that's unfortunate. And then I'm seeing, I think with the season that we had and with our Alliance being one of the first to not ostracize people and not, employ that bullying mentality because we were a secret alliance. I think everyone kind of thought it was going to be, happy and roses, and then kind of comes in, and then the true nature ends up coming out.
Yeah, I think that in the first week of your season, there was like a brief period of time, right, where Frenchie was trying to kind of like stir the house up to be all against Derek X, right? There was that brief moment in time where like Derek X was just kind of like the scapegoat for all of the wrongs that happened in the house. And then, luckily he then, very quickly won the veto and kind of like escaped that situation. But I guess, do you see any similarities in that situation to what you've seen in this season or other seasons?
I mean, I can see that. I remember that week. I think maybe now this comes to say it's something of what casting needs to possibly employ. I know a lot of people, everyone says we want a season of gamers. We want a season of people who have no problem lying in backs, and we have season whatever. And I know when I kind of came into play, people were upset with the choice that I made. Some of the things I might say might be deemed as boring, or some of them might say this. But I know playing the game very quickly, like $750,000 was awesome. But like, if I believed in something, like, I have no problem putting that to the side. I know that week when Derek X was being targeted and things, I knew people probably didn't want me to be around him. But I was like, I don't care. I'm going to be around this person because I like him, and it's the same thing. People might have said negative things about Brittany, or why are you doing this for Brittany? I don't care. Like, I don't feel it's correct what's happening to Brittany, so I'm going to be around them. Casting you need to have in this cast, you got to have everybody. And not everyone can be the comp piece. Not everyone can be the master manipulator. When you have that, you're kind of put in these situations. You got to have different pieces of the pie, and that's what makes the cast work. You can't have everyone who comes in and saying, I'm going to do what I need to do to win. No, like, you got to have the 3 or 4 people. They're going to fuck up that HOH and do something completely different than what people might expect. And that's what makes good television, having a variance of personalities, variance of backgrounds and experiences, the variance of life experience to make that season as colorful as it is. And that's one thing that our last season had. We had people of all backgrounds, all places, everything. And even amongst the Black people that we had, we showed we weren't a monolith. We're so varied in our backgrounds and our cultures where we came from. And that's what provides a great cast, having that diversity.
Yeah, and we were talking last night about like how there are a lot of people in the house who are not particularly anti-Taylor. They're just kind of like taking everyone's word for it, don't really want to say anything, right? And we talked about how like, you know, this notion of like, oh, well, you don't want to blow up your game by, you know, sticking up for this person. And what we discussed is like, it's not necessarily going to blow up your game. If anything, you know, standing up for somebody might help your game because I think you don't realize how much power you have when you do stand up and defend somebody, because then all of those people who weren't really against Taylor are able to be like, oh, yeah, here's now a public stance in a direction that I feel.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, you really were that person as well. Like you, and I think Xavier also did this a few times, like not afraid to just like be like, yeah, this is a powerful thing. I have the power here to say, no, I'm not just going to go along with this. Like you're not just going to, you know, come after Brittany for no reason. You were also somebody that was like very willing to talk with Derek X and like hear him out when in those situations. And I think that like that's a very powerful thing, and I very much appreciate your presence on the season because of that.
I appreciate that, and I have to say that, but I'm looking at the differences. Derek X was considered the option, then he came clutch and won a veto. You know,
yeah.
He was able to kind of, you know, take that himself. The other thing is what you talk about teams is interesting. I knew there was no way Frenchie could come after me or anybody could come after me because I was safe for the week. So I felt I sat in my back, but I felt like I was, you know what, I'm gonna do what I want. Like I felt in that, you know, I could do what I wanted. So, and then with Brittany being on my team, there was no problem in me, you know, reacting that way because I just, the loyal game that I played a loyal game. So I was loyal to my team, as jokers as we were. I was loyal to my team. I don't know if we are lucky to have had those elements that happen to work just, you know, in those ways, that because this doesn't have those elements, it gives room for those things to happen. I don't know. It's something that I'm going to definitely wonder. I didn't think about that.
You know, it's not like that the teams is like the greatest thing ever, but I just wonder if it might help with preventing sort of like a 15-on-1 situation where, you know, at least at the very least, you know, there's, you know, be 3 people that are going to say like, hey, that's my teammate. Like, you know, at least like another set of ears that's listening for, okay, like, or hey, just so you know, here's a heads up. They're talking about you, you know, when you have these like situations where it's the very start of the season.
Yeah, no, as you're saying it, there's so much more clarity and context provided to so many things. I look at Kemi's season, I think things could have been done a little bit differently, you know.
And if anything, it was like the opposite of that, where it was like, hey, the team is camp comeback. They're like, let's put all the people that were already like going after like in a separate group. And
exactly. Yeah. No, I think having this team thing in the beginning might really help. Because you have no choice but to be loyal to the people you have, because their survival means your survival. Wow, I didn't think about that, but I think that would help a lot.
Is in terms of like the gameplay happening on this season, are you who do you think is like doing well strategically?
I mean, unfortunately, Paloma, as kooky as she is, I mean, she got this house run around her finger. Like, what? I mean, like, because I'm looking and, like, I've been looking and see, okay, what alliances have been built besides this girls' alliance? And I'm not seeing much. I'm seeing some final twos. I'm seeing some whatever. But, like, I'm like, geez, where is this? Where is, even me, one who purposely did not make many alliances, you would have thought some more stuff would have happened by now, you know? In our week one, it was just in week one, the butchers, the slaughterhouse. I mean, yes, whole rack of them were made by Frenchie, but still, you had the butchers, you had the slaughterhouse, you had the Kingslayers, you had the cookout. That's 4 lines I can name on top of my finger in the first
French
5
kisses.
days.
Yes.
The French kisses. Like, come on. Like people were, I mean, but we came as gamers. Everyone in the house came in wanting to play and completely ready to play. I know when I came in, I knew I wanted the Women's Alliance. You know, there are people who came in and said, I know I want to have the Black people work together. Frenchie came in, he's like, yo, I want to make an alliance called a Slaughterhouse, which is why he had 3 of them. You know? So.
He liked it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of women's alliances, you know, we see this girls alliance, and this is a huge topic like every season about women working together, the women's alliance, and then very rarely does it seem like it ends up working out. It seems like this season things are kind of going in that direction yet again already. You mentioned you went in wanting a women's alliance and you had one at the start of the game. What happened with it that made it not work for you?
Yeah, so I think it just happens to be the person that I am. I came in with the Women's Alliance, and then I had the cookout, and the cookout was actually just my insurance. I will not lie in the fact that I knew if I saw a person of me on the block, I would not vote him out. But like that was just kind of more of agreement that I kind of put here. I wanted to have that, like I wanted to grab them by the balls, and I wanted to make sure the woman would get to the end. Very quickly in the game, when I realized it was a wildcard comp that involved 2 people in my alliance and Derek X, and that's the moment when I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta choose. Like I can't, I'm not gonna be able to play both at the same time. The way that my brain works and just the type of person that I am, I was like, I gotta pick one. And that's when I put the Kingslayers to the side and then was like, okay, well, I'm gonna feel really shitty, like playing this game and like having to lie to people that are actually my friends when I'm actually here. And I was like, okay, as a super fan I was, the funny thing is I kind of thought that you kind of could only rock with one alliance the whole time. And I just decided, all right, I'm going to have the cookout. I'm not going to have any alliances, and I'm going to have to adjust and shift my gameplay. And like, that's where I was sad in that sense, because I'm like, dang, I don't get to play the game that I wanted to play coming in. I'm going to kind of have to give a backseat to that and put that back for us to be, you know, to be able to move forward. So I know that's what was in my head, but I do wonder if either we had already had a Black winner and I didn't have that burden on me anymore, as one who's watched all the seasons and seen what people like me have gone through, if I would have been able to play different, because I was ready to, you know, to do that. But I had a couple things in my head, that, and I had the fact that I'm kind of boy crazy. And I said it. I warned y'all.
The middle school crush.
Yes.
You heard a lot. You heard a lot about it. So yeah.
That was talked about a lot in my house. That I watched the shows with my son, who's 7 at the time, and a lot of questions about the middle school crush and and what it all meant. So that was a lot of fun. Azah, what's it like when you hear people on the live? And again, I'm sure that you said, you know, you don't watch the live feeds, but I'm sure it gets sent to you when people talk about like, even just like mention, if somebody mentions your name on the live feeds, I'm sure, you know, you've got like 47 people sending you, so-and-so just said this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I a great thing is, from what I've heard, actually, Taylor said some very nice things about me. That's all I've heard, at least. Mm-hmm. I will not, I got to work it out. Like I got to work, and it's just because I'm fresh, right? Like I know on BB Can, I know a lot of people and a lot of women had some negative things to say about me, and I won't lie, it does hurt your feelings, and it does hurt. And I think where my hurt comes from is, in all my game decisions, I've owned everything that I've done. I've owned my accountability on my part, but I think for the most part, a lot of my game is very misunderstood. And that mistake comes from me not talking to cameras. What I did was I went into the DR and I just spoke. That's where I spoke everything. But when I look at the show, the DR only showed me crying over Britney, really, or my middle school crush. So I kind of used the DR as my outlet to speak what was all in my head. And I did not have as many game talks. And I understand now why there's a lot of misunderstanding over some things I've done or my decisions and things. And that's the only unfortunate part that I get kind of sad about, because I see people, like, I'm painted as, you know, whether it's a pick me or painted as like a person who, you know, hated women or did not want to be with women, and as one of 5 girls, you know, and like, as one that is boy crazy, but, you know, and makes great decisions as long as men aren't involved, but still kind of, I felt, tried to make the best decisions that would get me to where I felt I would be in a space to win. It is disappointing. And the only thing I can say is I can give grace to that because I know I didn't speak negatively about anybody when I was in the house. It's, but I think they'll get it when they leave. When I got in the house, I was humbled immediately because I had so much to say about people and characters and things, watching them play. And then when I got in the house, I realized how hard it was and how I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't, you know, I was a terrible liar. I couldn't lie to people like I wanted to. I couldn't do all these things. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm humbled. As much as people talk about Victoria, guess what? Victoria got the final 3 and she was playing the game. I have to say she was playing the game. You know, I know people might not agree with that, but like, I think she was. And I have to give respect to anyone who's been in that house and able to get to where they went, because wherever type of variable decision that got them to the placement that they get, I got to give props. You know, I was very upset with Big D and I could not stand him for months when I left the house. But I still think he was playing the game. I know y'all don't agree with that, but
no, I mean everybody's playing the game for sure, and I think that I think that like I don't know if you've had the opportunity to like meet some of the Big Brother Canada players. Those obviously those are the only players so far that you've been able to like watch post your season and then had the opportunity to meet afterward. But like I think usually how it goes for alumni is that like people go onto the show and they just watch the show and they have those opinions based on the show that they watched, and then they experience it and then they meet these people afterward and they're like, oh, okay. And especially like meeting you, I don't think anybody would meet you and be like and like have any negative opinion. You know what I mean? Like like
thank you.
yeah, like so have you had any of those experiences yet where you met somebody that you knew didn't hold a great opinion of you?
And so in the challenge house, he was like, I had no idea how funny you were. Like, you're actually very funny. And I was like, that means a lot, Enzo, because I think you're hilarious. He's like, well, you always had a soothing voice, but, you know, you're always crying. You know, you're always crying, just crying into the camera the whole time. But you're funny, yo. You're really funny. You're funny. And I'm like, thank you, you know. Yeah, I've received from that. I feel like that's one that was notable to me. I'm trying to think in my head. I know there's some misunderstanding things, but I might have been in a room where somebody talked negatively about a house guest, and so he thought it was me. But I know for a fact I made sure not to open my mouth about anybody, you know. And so when they meet me, they're like, "Oh, wait, okay, you weren't saying this about me, you know." And like, I appreciate you for, you know, keeping your mouth shut on things. But I guess I'm trying to think. I think it might be Enzo was the one probably who made me laugh and he was like, you know, I thought you were just a crier, you know, I thought you were a crier, but he's like, you're really funny. You're funny. You're funny. You don't cry all the time. I was like, yeah, I didn't cry once in the challenge house, which is, it's a feat.
Yeah. Azah, so do you have any feedback for us as commentators? Because, you know, that I really respect everything that you're saying about, you know, how you think that we should be like trying to remember about the humans that are actually playing the game. So I really, you know, respect your opinion on this matter. So as people who are like talking about these contestants day in and day out, do you have any thoughts on any things that we could be doing better or different?
Okay, I do really appreciate that question. I will be honest, I don't think I got, I said this, well, I felt your commentary might have been biased. I never felt like I got any respect from you two, disrespect from you two in the way that you talked about game. For you two, I would only ask and understand the different perspectives maybe that people have to play in the house. I
think that's a good point.
Yeah. So when I'm seeing what's happening to Taylor and I remember the things in the game, I'm like, oh my goodness, I think about me, like when I think before going in the house, how I have to make a cognizant effort as a dark skin woman to always kind of, you know, be to not threaten people. I'm always I take attention to every single thing I say and I talk, because people always tell me that I am threatened by you just from me walking into a room and things. And a lot of my gameplay decisions were me there were times when I still came out and I would stand up for myself, but when I did, I was labeled as aggressive. I was labeled as this, I was labeled as that. And from the different experiences that people come from when playing the game. I'm not even speaking from a dark skin person. I'm speaking people who might be bigger, who are overweight, and who are not able to do challenges like other people can. But they got to figure out another way to get to the end, right?
Mhm.
They got to figure out another way to get in those final 2 chairs. And so not everyone is going to be able to play this great bombastic gameplay that everyone loves and adores. Some people aren't afforded that opportunity. Some people have to kind of take a step back and figure out their way that way. So that's the only thing of being mindful of different perspectives, but I never want you both. I personally enjoyed your commentary before going in the house, and I don't want you to feel like you have to. I want you to still feel like you can be able to speak your truth in the things that you say. So it will just be being mindful of different perspectives, I would say, with that. And then I never got this from you all, but I know this is a game that's very entertaining, and you know, we feel emotionally connected to these characters and things. But you know, using strong language is like, I hate this person, or you know, or like, you know, I can't stand this person. Like, we are very quickly removed from this experience. And 8 months ago, we were chilling and nobody knew who we were. So when we kind of go out the house and we see these things, you guys know I'm a petty person. We get hurt, you know, and we hit that block button, and we might lash out and have a whole Twitter Spaces like Big D.
No comment, Azah.
Yeah. You know, we might, you know, just, I don't know. We're human. We're all human. We're all, you know, and it's just good to mind. I enjoy this game so much. I enjoy watching this game. But when I got in that house, I was so humbled so quickly and understood that, okay, these aren't characters that I'm watching. These are human beings. And we're not chess pieces on the board. They continue to call this a game. It's much more than a game. So much more than a game. In New York, I met people who 15 years ago are still mad at what something this person did. That's not a game. Can you remember your last chess game? Are you still mad at him about it? You know? Or your last basketball game or your soccer game? This is more than a game. If it was just a game, this season would have been, this show would have been canceled years ago. It's so much more than that, and people take it more than that, and you literally feel like life and death in that house, and you're making decisions that are going to stop you from dying. You think that because everything else is removed from you.
Yeah, and you know, it is definitely something I always have tried to be mindful of is not, you know, not using like such extreme terms, because I think that, you know, a lot of the fan base, they get very emotionally involved in the moment, and especially I think because of the way the Big Brother airs, where you know everyone is in a house separate from this discussion. I think that there's like this idea that like, you know, well, they're not going to see this. But of course, once you guys get out of the house and you go back and watch stuff, it's like that's fresh to you. And probably to the person, it's like they're over it. Like in the moment they felt it, but now they're over it. But like that doesn't make it any less hurtful to you listening to like somebody like just come for you relentlessly or whatever, right? And so yeah, you know, I think for me, I always try to make sure, even like right now when we're talking about the Taylor situation, like, you know, I want to be calling out like behavior that I think is inappropriate or whatever. But at the same time, I want to make sure that like we're talking about behavior. We're not like necessarily condemning people. And also like when talking about Taylor, like there are certainly a lot of people who are like, well, she's clearly doing something wrong, or she's clearly bad at the game. And it is important to recognize that like, well, she never really had a chance. And it's easy to look at the result and say, well, because of the result, she must have been bad. And I do think it's important to recognize that like coming in immediately through nothing that she did at all, there was a perception of her. And once you have that perception, it's like you're playing on a different, like it's like you're playing on hard mode, you know, like or like super extra hard mode. And then somebody else is playing on easy mode, and you can't just be like, yeah, that person's crushing easy mode, they're way better. Like that's not exactly how it works.
Yep. That's, you hit the nail on the head with that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think that like we also like should try to remember, because I think that sort of like the opposite side of the coin from hate is like loving contestants maybe too much, where that, you know, like, because I think that's where a lot of that, like, the hate comes from. It's like, I love this person, I love this person, I love this person, and then if that person is not working with that other person, and they might be like friends, or they might have like a you know, a civil relationship, but that becomes like the flip side of the coin is, I hate this person, I hate all these other people, that I hate this alliance, and so like I think it's probably like a good note, like, to not also get too high on any person, because the flip side of that is like that you have to then be very, very low and out on other people.
I think that's a point that's an excellent point. I know for my final 5 HOH, a lot of people disagreed. I mean, Hannah's absolutely loved, and it's well deserved. She's a quite intelligent, amazing girl that each time I meet her more, I'm more and more impressed with her. But I know how it's like to be connected to the show as me watching it, and me taking her out. To this day, I get people who like cry in my message box, like, why did you do that? You know, or things like that. And, you know, as a result of things, you know, the love for this person kind of pushed over into this animosity, I guess you would say, towards myself. So I appreciate you for bringing that point up. I didn't even think about that, but that is something very true. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And who's your actual friend that you wrote?
Yeah, we didn't, and it was just from a
random
game.
person is mad at you. Yeah.
And then just on a game, I felt in the time from a game standpoint, I felt like at least how I saw myself, I played a floater game outside and in the cookout, and for me, I was gonna go with whom gave power depending on at 6. So if the guys won, I was gonna rock with the guys. If the girls won, I was gonna rock with the girls. When Kai won at 5. I wanted to figure out the best way for me to get to final 3, and I wanted to keep up with my deals because I want to say it in the end. And the only person who didn't approach me was Hannah, so she was, from a game standpoint, it was the best thing for me to do. I will say, when I did that, I knew what could come after. I asked myself, I said, Azah, do you want to set yourself in a position that you think is going to win the game from what you have, or do you want to set yourself in a position for a Black woman to win, and that might not be you? And I decided in that standpoint, I said, you know what? I've been playing this selfless game this whole time. I've been offering myself on a block this whole time. Let me make this decision for myself that I know people might understand, but I'm going to go ahead. And I did. And I'm ready. I'm okay and willing and accepting of, you know, what might come from it after. And I'm personally, truly at peace with that.
And
yeah.
Go ahead, Taran.
I just just even the fact that you feel like you have to explain that situation, I feel like is just, it's unfortunate, right? Because it's clear that like obviously and here's what happens too, you know, some people didn't watch it live, some people are like watching it right now, and so they're experiencing those like heights of emotions right now, and unfortunately, this is going to continue to happen for years. Survivor players talk about it all the time of like, you know, like 20 years ago, they played Survivor and then they'll get a message like, I can't believe you did this to this person. And it's like, this was 20 years ago. Like, what do you want
today,
from me?
Karen? Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah. I've had to give, you know, the nicest message, because I mean, some people really sound heartbroken. I really feel bad. Like, I feel so bad because they're really like, I mean, you can hear the hurt in their voice. You had me crying. Why could you? Why? We were rooting for you. I'm like, so sorry. I'm sorry. I had to make the best decision for my game, but you did it. Okay. Oh, okay. My bad. Okay. Sorry.
Did that change your mindset at all? Like heading into the challenge, coming through that experience, and then experiencing the way that the fans react to the show, and sort of like really like making you feel a little bit more like, hey, I need to always just do what's best for me.
Going to the challenge, I guess I had healed enough from the game. I felt that's why I felt I could do the challenge. For me, it was more just, have I healed yet? You know, and I'm ready. Am I ready for this again? Because guess what? Like, this is going to happen no matter what. Like, no matter what games, there's gonna be a number of people who don't like you for whatever reason or for whatever. So really, more the challenge was just me like, have I healed from that, and am I okay with what happens, what might happen, if I do this again. But it wasn't really just having that knowledge and still living that to this day of differing opinions and perspectives of myself and things. You always have it in the back of your head. There's a Twitter troll. I get Twitter trolls every single day, so I already kind of am used to that. It was just, okay, am I ready to set myself up for this on an amplified level again?
Azah, well, we have some questions I wanted to bring up for you, and if you have questions for Azah, you can go ahead and post them in the chat. Stephanie wants to know, how was the Celebrity Big Brother finale? Any good stories from celebrities that attended?
Ooh, Stephanie, have we met before? I feel like I've met Stephanie in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. That's where she's from. Yeah.
Oh, we've met. What's up, Stephanie? Okay, let me see. Do I have any stories from celebrities? Okay. Dang. I don't.
She confirms it, Stephanie. Yes.
Yes, there were some interesting things that happened. Just there was an interesting thing that happened. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. Okay, dang, I don't like telling people tea. Okay, nothing happened. There was no like crazy stuff, but there was a particular celebrity house guest that took a particular interest in a BB house guest, but nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Okay.
Oh my gosh,
all
I'm
right.
so
Blind item. A blind item from Azah. Okay.
Oh,
Celebrity BB house guest took an interest in a regular BB house guest.
Seemed to take an interest. Yeah.
Interest.
Crossing the spin-off lines,
if you would say. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Somebody will be working on a graph pretty soon. Okay. Josh Green wants to know, if Big Brother insists of a week 1 twist, how can they fix it to make it not as annoying and ruining the game? First off, Azah, do you have any thoughts on the backstage boss?
I think it's just too complicated and confusing for Middle America and myself to just grasp on. Just for general casuals watching the game, I just kind of want. I think teams are cool, but otherwise, just show me Big Brother. I personally just am not really into twists. I like just a rolling game. But from talking with you now, I feel like the teams work, and I see how that can be helpful to avoid situations like what happened with Taylor before.
Couple of weeks maybe for the teams.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. Yeah, exactly. With the twist, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it still is a big, if Taylor wins it, Taylor goes against Paloma, Taylor wins it and is able to figure out some things. I mean, that'd be a great scenario. But is Taylor still going to be able to have the backing that she needs, or some people who like maybe people who don't care about the money or care about the game as much to be able to kind of to have a team. She needs people. She needs some numbers, So I don't know. I don't want to say that it's throw the whole season away, but I don't know. Maybe we gotta.
Can I say that I kind of hope that it's not like that situation where, okay, so Taylor gets evicted and then Paloma ends up like in some sort of like a competition and then Taylor beats Paloma, because I kind of feel like that then at the end of the week, it's sort of like, were you not entertained? Like, I almost feel like that the wrong takeaway comes from this week of like, well, Paloma got what she deserved. So I guess it all worked out. I feel like that it sort of like masks what went wrong for this week.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. That makes sense. I truly don't know. I don't know if a twist is going to save anything. I don't know. I have to say, yeah.
Tara, what do you think of that? Do you feel like that sort of like production like gets the wrong takeaway? Like if it works out where Paloma ends up getting evicted by way of Taylor beating her in a competition?
I mean, are we talking about the same production that took the takeaway from Big Brother 16 that the Battle of the Block was a fan favorite twist?
Yes.
I don't think we can control what they take away.
Yeah. Okay. Greg wants to know, Azah, will you be throwing more watch parties in the future?
Oh, hey, Greg. I met you in New York. I definitely plan to. What I love about these watch parties is I'm able to kill so many birds with one stone. I meet alumni I never met before. I create experience for the fans, and then you guys all get to try my food and my recipes because I always collaborate with the restaurants to come up with a special menu, including recipes that I've made in the house. So I definitely plan to do it for the premieres and the finales. But I'm planning a middle season one in Chicago coming up soon. So I definitely continue to plan to do these watch parties. I have so much fun throwing them. I have so much fun meeting everyone. And no, I don't plan to stop. I'll continue to do them.
Okay. Mr. Roybot says, Azah's restaurant when?
Oh, man. I would love, that's something on the line that down the line I would love to have. I've been exploring a lot of different culinary endeavors. One being like a food business that I can put in grocery stores. But from throwing these watch parties, that made me realize how much I did have a previous background in hospitality before going into tech, and it made me realize how much I love the hospitality industry. So I would love to throw a restaurant. However, I need capital. So if you're trying to invest, hit me up.
Now, have you talked to Paloma? Okay. She is looking to invest in some businesses,
yes,
Azah.
Cracks the game. Yes.
Yes. Did you message Xavier by any chance and say, like, hey, about this Paloma idea of, if the alliance gets to the end,
right? I'm due to. I definitely think Xavier might owe me a couple things. So yeah, you know what? You need to invest in my business, Xavier. I'm gonna hit him up after this. Thank you for that.
It's not technically against the rules. Paloma checked.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my goodness. I mean, she's. I'm not gonna mention her. I can mention her negative, but man, she would have been a kooky, fun character to watch this season. She's otherwise so fun. I love the messy characters. They crack me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Azah, I didn't know that about the recipes that you make at the watch parties. I feel like that's really interesting. I had no idea about that.
Yeah. So I call them house chops. I came up with a digital cookbook earlier this year called House Chop. And chops comes from, chops is a pidgin term in a lot of West African countries. It means food. And then house, I kind of wanted, the Big Brother house. I thought about that. So that's how I have that. But yes, at my parties, we serve the jollof rice. We serve puff puff. Those are both, I personally think that those two dishes are what secured me at least final 6. Nobody wanted to get rid of me because of the food I made. And those are 2 recipes that everyone absolutely raved and loved. And I always have those at my parties for people to be able to try themselves so they can understand how I did not win one comp, but managed to not get on the block and stay till final 3.
Well done. Taran, any other questions for Azah today?
I don't think so.
Okay. Here, Cupcakes Are Nice wants to ask you, who from this season of the challenge you think would be fun to see in the Big Brother house? And why don't you pick a person who is not a Big Brother person?
Okay. Oh, Cash.
Okay.
Cash, but I would have to say Cash and singles, but you got to put them in separately. But Cash is such a fun personality, and very quickly, day one, I saw her social game is great. Like, she's able to light up a room. She's so funny. She's able to make those connections. I would have loved to see, I think she would have, I told her that on the challenge. I think she would have thrived in a Big Brother house, and I would love to see her. And then for Cinco, I don't think we've seen any type of Cinco. Yes, we've had black men on the show, but I don't think we've had a Cinco on the show. And I would love to see how that would play in the Big Brother house too. He's very strong physical-wise. He is quite attractive, that the women just love him. And he also still has this kind of laid back, low reserve thing that kind of would be able to, even though if people might see him as a threat, they're still afraid to kind of come against him, and could be that silent killer that just gets to the end. So those are 2 people I think that would be really fun to watch in the house. Yeah.
Azah, how nervous were you going into the elimination on the challenge this past week?
I was very nervous. So something a little bit different for me than the other cast, but I got the call for the challenge back in October, and I said no because I hadn't healed from the show. And I got calls again throughout that time, but I was still like, no. And then I had my watch party in February. Big D apologized to my family, and I just got over it. And I was like, okay, I think I'm healed. And I got called again in February, and I said yes, 7 days before I got on that show.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't work out. I didn't prepare at all. And I, not gonna lie, I came in initially just for the check. And then like, when I kind of got thrown into elimination, I was like, no, you can't go out like this. I was like, no, so I was definitely very scared, but appropriately ready. I felt that I knew Kylan had prepared. And I did not want to not just let myself down, but let someone like that down who had been really, really, this had been a goal for him for quite some time. And I really wanted to bring it, even if I wasn't able to be as physical as I wanted to be. I wanted to be able to bring it any way possible and use, that mental in me to aim for that win. But I was nervous.
I was nervous for you when we watched the episode, because I was watching it, and then I knew you were having the watch party. I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. Did Azah, did she know that she was going out on the first challenge, and so had a watch party so everybody would watch Big Brother the night of the challenge, and I missed that. And then I was relieved when you made it through.
Thank you. They did tell us in the house that the premiere was July 6th, and I knew Big Brother always airs on the first Wednesday. So
yeah,
I was very cognizant when I was like, all right, I'm going to make sure it's this time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Azah, where can people keep up with you? As if anybody listening isn't already keeping up with you.
Well, thank you. On Instagram, I'm Wonderful World of Oz, Wonderful World of AZ. And then on Twitter and on TikTok, I'm Azah_Awasum. AWASUM.
Okay. Azah, thank you for spending some time with us. Really appreciate you coming on and talking about everything that's going on in your world and this, very, I don't even know the right adjectives to describe the Big Brother house, but it's something.
Yes, I will say that it's something. But I had so much fun with you guys. This was so much fun. Thank
please
you
come
for
back.
inviting me.
Yeah, we'd love to do more, especially as we could talk more about the challenge as the season goes along.
Hopefully better things to talk about in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got 3 months of this. I really hope I'm hoping some type of turnaround this season. I'm gonna be optimistic. So
mm-hmm. Yeah. Taran, I feel like I've spent the last couple of hours with you. I just got done watching today's live feed update with Mari Forth. What's coming up for you, Taran?
Well, of course, later tonight, the Wednesday night episode of Big Brother 24. I'll be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching along with anyone that wants to join. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, live feed update and our first eviction tomorrow night. So check out the Twitch. Check out the YouTube channel. I'm dropping some Among Us videos, and that's what I got.
And of course, make sure you subscribe to our podcast feed to catch everything we're doing for Big Brother 24. Go to robbinswebsite.com/BB24. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.